Hey everyone, before we kick this episode off, I urge everyone listening to like and subscribe to our podcast, wherever you may get your podcast from. So if you listen to us on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating, or also subscribe to us on Spotify. And I urge all of our listeners to head to our website, and you can get more than just our podcast from there. We have news stories all the time there. We have feature articles there. So head to tnpmedia.au. That's tnpmedia.au. All right, without further ado, we'll get stuck into the podcast.
Talk and Power, your motorsport and motoring radio show. Now on 88.5 FM, The Valley Comes Alive. And podcasting across iTunes and talkandpower.com.au.
Hi and welcome to the Talk and Power podcast. This is a best of 2024 episode. We'll be going through some of our highest rating episodes for 2024. We hope you've had a great Christmas and New Year, and settle back and enjoy some of our highlights from the 2024 year on the podcast. So many episodes to get through. We'll give you just a few of them, some of our better rating ones, and some of the highs of the year. Our year kicked off with the live recording from the Northern Steel Car Show down in Perry Lakes. We are live here at the Northern Steel Annual Car Show. It's great to be here. We're just going to do a bit of recording now as well. This will go on our podcast. All right, well, I'm here with our co-hosts as well, Todd Brinkworth and Johnny Alardi. Guys, thanks for joining us here today.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, no
It
worries.
is. It's a lovely day out, isn't it, Todd?
Not bad.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
Yeah, I know. That's all right.
Hey, just we thought we'd have a brief chat while we're here. We'd love for the people that are down here today to come and say hello. We'd love to chat about your cars. So if you're here at the show, enjoy the sights and sounds, make sure you head on over. We'd love to have a chat and talk about your car. No matter what it is, we're up for a discussion, aren't we?
Well, unless I want to talk about V8 supercars.
Or drag racing,
Or
or something else, Formula One, where
That might
we'll
be
talk all
professional.
sorts of things. Sorry?
It might be professional about supercar commentator. You know, we aren't. So
No, we're not. We're not. We'll talk about that. We've talked about that at length. For those that don't know, we've been criticised recently for not knowing much about V8 supercars. But there again, I think the people that run V8 supercars don't know much about V8 supercars either, do they? We
No.
shouldn't be saying this in
Wow.
front of the major sponsor of V8 supercars, Repco, over there. So
Yeah.
probably a little bit
We'll get
inappropriate.
that on the DL.
they might hear us and actually learn something.
All right, anyway, we had on the run sheet here. If you're down here today, there's going to be prizes for Best Ford, Best Holden / Chev, Best Valiant / Mopar, Best Import, Best Hot Rod, Rat Rod, Best People's Choice Award. If you're here, make sure you scan the QR code. There's QR codes all around the venue. Make sure you scan and you can get in the running to be the People's Choice winner as well. And there's also an award for the Northern Steel Car Club Member Vehicle Award as well. All proceeds today go to Beyond Blue and Lifeline as well. While we're here, we should probably just have a quick read of the sponsors as well that have supported today. And there's quite a few of them here. So, Ocean View Tavern, Repco, of course, Green Glades Tavern, Sabine Winton, she's the MLA for Wanneroo, Pit Stop Dynamic, Rare Spares, Bunnings, Ashby Bar and Bistro, Zachariah Events, who are giving away 4 UB40 tickets, Joondalup Resort, and Sinjin, which I saw over there before. We should probably have a taste of that a bit later on.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself, actually.
You into your gin?
Yeah, I love gin.
Angela's nodding away over there as well. So
Nice to get some ice there and cool us down later this afternoon.
I know we might need a bit of Sinjin a little bit later on, so we'll head on over there as well. Trophies today are donated by Aussie Garage TV, Allure Dental, and Rejuvenate Wanneroo. We also need to thank Town of Cambridge as well for putting this venue on. This is a lovely venue. It's been around a long time. For those that will remember, Big Al's Poker Run started here for in its later years, didn't it?
I didn't attend while I was here, Nick. I can't comment on that.
I did, yeah, I did. And it was a lovely venue to kick the Big Al's Poker Run off. And I think, this is fitting the bill quite nicely. And congratulations to Pete and Alison from Northern Steel and the entire team from Northern Steel for putting this event on. It's a magnificent event, and we love coming here, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. I think people that are listening, if you're not here today, definitely put your interest in for next year, because it's a good event. It feels a bit of a void in January, and I can't.
There is a bit of a void in January, isn't there? Because a lot of people are on holidays, or might be off work but not going anywhere. So it's always lovely to come here as well, sit under the trees. I know it's a bit warm today, but even though it's 34 or 35, it's quite pleasant under this tree.
I think it feels good. Yeah, I think that breeze just comes in every now and then, and it cools us down. It's not unpleasant. It's just nice.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Talk and Power, your motorsport and motoring radio show.
One of our better episodes when we introduced, as it would turn out to be, our co-host Michelle Morrison. That was back in April. So while we're here, let's get stuck into that episode. That was back on episode 184.
All right, so you started off in junior dragster.
Yes. Started off racing in junior dragster, but was involved in drag racing for about a year or maybe 2 seasons before I actually started racing juniors myself. My dad used to sponsor a friend of his, Neil Barron, who raced in Top Comp, and I was always my dad's little TA at the time, and I was doing mechanics in high school and always had an interest in cars. And I was doing some pit crew work on Neil's car, and his crew were teaching me quite a bit, but people could see us hanging around and were saying to my dad, like, why isn't she in the car, and you're going to get her in juniors? And just did 3 seasons in juniors.
Yep.
Can I ask what it is about juniors? Because there is something, we look at all other forms of motorsport and their junior categories, we'll call it karting, and it seems to be, I don't want to say the success rate isn't as high as what junior drag racing is. So if I look back at recent people that are successful in drag racing, all come from junior drags. And not many start off in sedan or super street. So it seems to be that junior drag racer seems to be for the lack of a better word, a breeding ground for competitive races later in life.
Yeah.
Are you able to elaborate on that, why that might be?
I think for me personally, for being in junior dragsters, you're learning about the fundamentals of drag racing, and you're learning about that start line procedure and, when it comes to Group 3, your dial-ins. So I think so much of that carries on throughout all the other groups of drag racing. And I said just on the weekend with my acceptance speech, it really comes down to, it's such a mental game as well. You can have a really good performing car, but if you aren't able to mentally compose yourself, it plays such a big deal in how your events are going to go and your success rate, your win rate. So I think junior dragster prepares you a lot for that. I think also, for me, starting in juniors, I was 15. So I started in 15, and I have to say I'm not particularly sure how they're running juniors at the moment. I know there's the 3 divisions for your time restrictions. When I was racing, there was 2 divisions, but the higher divisions could race the lower division. And for me, being 15, I could be paired up against an 8-year-old, and if you lose, there is no way that you can be sour, mad, angry when there's an 8-year-old that's just absolutely beaming. So it teaches you how to be a good loser.
That's a lesson you should teach a few of the guys down there in Modified.
Yeah.
I've never actually considered that, to be honest with you. That's a really interesting insight to that, because I had never considered that.
Yeah.
To you pointing that out.
I think for me, when I was in juniors, there was a really strong friendship amongst us all as well. And, you know, we used to have water fights, like in between rounds when we had big breaks. And so you are more on that friendship level. I'm not sure whether they're pushing more of a competitive nature amongst them now, or maybe it was pushed on some and just not on me.
It's parents.
Yeah, I think, you know, I definitely didn't have that push from my dad. So
Yeah, the kids are great. The parents.
The parents might miss out. Yeah.
Well, talk us through then. I mean, I saw an Andrew interview you did some years ago, and I've always found it interesting. There does seem to be a pathway from junior dragster into modified. Why is it that the Super Street and the Sedan and Top Sportsman doesn't really get the following from drag? I mean, Brodie's probably a bad example of that, but I mean, I guess generally speaking, we see a shift to modified from junior drag. So why for you, why was that the case?
Yeah, look, Nick, I'm so glad you were able to ask me that question, because that interview, my edit got me on, I think, on the bad side of the Super Street and Super Sedan races, because it did edit it in a way that made it sound as if it wasn't worthy to go into those fields. They did crop out the big factor that myself and my dad always had our mindset on an altered.
Yeah.
We always had our mindset on the altered, being that that's what we loved with Neil Berendt's car. But then I really liked the fact that it didn't look like a street car, you know, and I wanted to be racing a car that looked mean, that looked tough. I loved the short wheelbase, but with the open engine. And so for me, I'm going to be driving on the road at that stage, you know, buying a car to drive on the road. I don't want a car that then looks the same on the track. But that's for me personally. You know, I knew that was the end goal for us, and also with the altered in particular, and I suppose with other dragsters like rails, and your front engine dragsters, I suppose, depending on what strength of your chassis you have, there's ways to then step up and improve in that with that same chassis when you just switch out the engine or build on top of it.
Straight after that, we're down to Pinjarra for MAX Pinjarra, the 2024 version of MAX Pinjarra. Caught up with event organiser, once again, Richie Howlett. Let's have a listen to that episode right here.
Enjoying the lovely weather down here with good friend Richie Howlett. Richie, the organiser, the main man of this show. You're the face of this show, let's be honest.
I've always been told I had a face for radio.
Look, I mean, very good voice, very good speaking voice, very good commentary. We've spoken to you on the podcast before.
We have.
But look, thanks for having us down here. We love coming down here. It's a really enjoyable time of the year. The weather, you must be dialed in to the man upstairs, because you've got magnificent weather again this year.
I don't know if dialed in's the right word, but, you know, we just behave ourselves and ask nicely.
That's it, hey?
And he has been good to us. One year we got rain, but it was hardly enough to wet the ground and, you know, didn't dampen enthusiasm. But look, thank you for being here. And I've got to say, 185 episodes, that's an awesome effort for you. Did you think that it would go this far for you?
No, I didn't actually. No,
that's great.
No.
But the beautiful part about motorsport and what we're involved in is there's so much going on.
Yeah.
I mean, you could talk to the cows come home about stuff that's happening. So congratulations to you on 185 episodes.
Thanks, Richie. But look, again, this show, magnificent part of the world. I know you live down around this area, and who wouldn't want to live down here? It's a magic part of Australia, and in particular Western Australia. Talk us through the lead up to this event. I know it's locked in every year, but it's still a lot of work, isn't it?
Look, it is. Yeah, we will start planning. Well, I will probably spend about the next month putting this event to bed. There's reports that I need to write and, you know, bills to pay and things to do. So I'll spend the next month putting this event to bed. I'll forget about it for a couple of months, and then come June, July, we'll kick it all off again. There's grants to be applied for, there's sponsors to be contacted, and yeah, we just generally get the ball rolling for next year.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is a big process.
It's a great turnout, and look, we'll have some video footage a bit later on. If you're watching the podcast, you can watch this one as well. You'll see big crowds here, great car counts as well, different variety of cars. Talk us through some of the special ones, because I haven't been for a walk yet, but talk us through some of the special cars out there.
Oh, look, it doesn't get much more special than Boris Pacey's top door slammer Sandman Ute. That is a sensational car. Gary and Pam, and forgive me, I can't think of their last names, but there's a black Tudor over there. It's called Sassy Lady. Now, this car debuted at the Hot Rod Show when it was at Beresford, probably 11, 12 years ago, and it just cleaned up everything. It's one of the best Tudors in Western Australia.
Yeah.
In Australia, it's a Tony Crow built car, and it's just sensational. So look out for that one. It's got Sassy Lady on the number plates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's hold the tent down. Shall we?
Should be right, but I just want to hold it down.
Yeah, look, there's so much to see out here. There's lots of really cool and interesting things.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I got to look at Boris's car at Motivation, but not the look that I really wanted to get. It was so I will make that. I will get over there and check that out a bit closer.
It's a work of art. It really is.
It is. I mean, it's a long
car.
time in the build, but he's done a magnificent job. We'll have to get him on the podcast one day and have a yak about that car as well. Richie, tell us also this event. This isn't the only thing you do. Tell us about some of the other events you do.
I also run the Shannon Southern Coffee Cruise series of events. Now, the Coffee Cruise is a cars and coffee style event. Hang out, have a coffee, go home.
Yep.
And I've been running that since the Waroona bushfires, 2016. And I do it as a fundraiser for Variety WA, so I can participate in the Variety Creative Car Cruise. The Variety Creative Car Cruise it's almost like a bash style of event, but it's a blacktop event. It's for customs and classics and that sort of thing. We had our event a couple of weeks ago. There was 18 cars. My Monaro, there was a 1963 Porsche, a couple of really early 60s classic Fairlanes, a couple of late model Mustangs, a real good variety of cars. And we raised $225,000 for Variety. As a part of the cruise, we spent 4 days. We started in Mandurah, we started in Safety Bay, we went to Mandurah. One day from Mandurah to Pemberton, from Pemberton to Bunbury, and then Bunbury we finished at Serpentine over 4 days. Did, 1,500 Ks or so.
Yep.
And, yeah, a lot of fun. A great event, and it's something really that I'm really proud to be a part of. We stopped at a couple of schools on the Friday and Saturday to see where Variety money is going, and we stopped at schools for kids with special needs. And to see the smiles on their faces, just to be able to let them look at our cars and see, touch, feel, and all that sort of thing. Just thinks that something is so simple just made such a big, a big difference in their day. And it was really good, and it was awesome to be a part of that event and to see where Variety money is going and the great work that they're doing with it.
I know Beggs kicked that one off quite a few years ago. I don't know if
he did.
Yeah. And
it's his fault I got caught up in it too.
I was going to say, I think he's dragged quite a few people into it. And I think once you're in, aren't you? I don't think
it is like that.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing. Your very first cruise, you have to wear an L plate.
Yeah.
They give you a lanyard and it's got an L plate on it, and you've got to wear it everywhere. This year was my second cruise. And even though I've been raising for money for them for 6 years now, it's only actually the second cruise I participated in. So this year I had to wear a P plate. And next year when I participate in the cruise, I'll get a driver's license.
Fair enough.
So, there's all sorts of fun things that happen. It is just a really good fun event. And like I say, it's for customs and classics. And, you don't have to spend a bucket load of money to build a specialised bash car or anything.
Yeah. Tell us the supporters of this event, MAX Pinjarra. I know the local Shire get heavily involved in this and all the people in the surrounding area. Talk us through some of those people.
I mean, of course, the Shire of Murray, they've been on board with this event right from the beginning, talking of Anthony Begley. But they've been on board right from the very beginning. In fact, they gave us some money as a seed fund so we could kick this event off 15 years ago. And ever since then, they've been in and they've been great contributors to this event, and they continue to be.
Yeah.
And it's really great to have their support. But then there's guys like Shannon's Insurance, again, who have been here right from the get-go. And you know as well as I do that Shannon's support motorsport right from the grassroots right up to the top level. And we wouldn't be able to do this event without their help as well. But then a ton of local businesses, the Galloway family with Auto One and Galloway's Engine Reconditioners. We've got the local Tyre Power store on board. So there are supporters big and small from all facets of the industry.
What is it about this area, do you think? I think I asked you this last year as well. What do you think it is this area? Like, you go as far south as, Harvey, and as far over that way, Mandurah. It's such a very car-orientated. There's a high concentration.
Well, it's a great place to live.
Yeah.
Look at it now. I mean, Pinjarra's just growing. My sister's been in Pinjarra for over 40 years, and there's lots of it that's still the same, but there's lots that's changing. And Pinjarra is growing and growing, and you could probably still buy land and still build a house on it for a pretty reasonable sort of price. And Pinjarra has lots and lots of amenities, and it's only 45 minutes down the freeway from the Perth CBD.
Yep.
So why wouldn't you want to just get out from the city for a little bit and just enjoy a really nice sort of laid-back kind of lifestyle here?
It is. And even like I live in Balcatta. It took me exactly 1 hour this morning, and that's at the speed limit too. And that's through 80 zones in the northern part of the freeway, by the way. And 1 hour exactly. Like
you probably had a good run then.
Yeah, I did have a good run, but even it's not that far now. We got the Forest Highway that basically takes us all the way.
Yeah.
To literally 12 or maybe 10 Ks over here.
Yeah, so it's easy to get to.
Yeah, but there does seem to be a high concentration of motorsport and motor-orientated.
I guess too,
motoring.
this area is really attractive for FIFO workers and the like. So there's a bit of money around with there, and of course, what do? Build cars.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, speaking of building cars, hopefully I have mine here. There's a gap right there, and I have to be one of those guys that I had to ring Rich a couple of weeks ago and say, Richard, look, you would have seen through on the entry list an X-Trail come through. Unfortunately, it's just a gap year for me, but hopefully we've got the car here next year.
We can all do what we can do, but you're here, and that's the most important part.
No, we really enjoy it, and I really love coming here. It's a great day out. Next year, I really want to make a weekend of it as well. I said that this year, but it didn't happen.
Well, next year is certainly going to be the year to do it. The last couple of years, we've run a cruise on the Saturday afternoon. Yesterday, we had 23 cars, but Saturday is an area where we really want to develop, and I urge everybody to watch the Facebook page because, we're going to start building Saturday nights, building camping, beer, bands, barbecues, and turn Saturday night into a party night almost.
Yeah.
So there's lots more to come, and I just urge everybody to keep across the Facebook page because there's plenty happening.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll look forward to that, and hopefully we can get a few cars that come up from the northern suburbs as well. We get a bit of a group together.
Yeah, and we get a really good mix. We follow postcodes, and we do get a good mix of cars from. In the past we've had them from as far as Geraldton and Kalgoorlie, Yanchep, Two Rocks, right down to Manjimup, Albany. So people know this event is on and they're travelling for it.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it's worth travelling for as well. There's a lot going on in the area, and it's beautiful weather. What more can we ask for? Richie,
Lotto numbers would be good.
Richie, pleasure having you on again. Thank you very much for having us down here. Thank you for this event. We can't wait for next year. Thanks for allowing us to be here.
My pleasure, and again, congratulations, 185 episodes, awesome.
No worries. Thanks, Richie.
One of our bigger episodes for the year was the episode we recorded with Matt and Steph Gullotto. We tune in and have a listen to that episode right here. We spoke a few weeks ago at a family function, and we had made a joke on the podcast earlier, that episode that week, about how
You were suggesting...
Oh, yeah. Everyone in Super Street is hoping that you two are going to have more kids.
Yes, our in-laws were. My in-laws were definitely excited about that comment. I reassured them that would not be happening.
Christina was. She was genuinely
I think
lobbying for that.
I think it's the only way that anyone's got a chance in the class, to be honest.
Anyway, look, thanks for joining us on the podcast. It's great to have you guys here, and it's really great to have, again, I guess, a highlight on females in drag racing. It's something that we're seeing domination, and we'll talk about Super Street in a moment, the domination that females are having in Super Street as well, in particular. But it's great to have you here. We've got you in as also to talk about the Gullotto legacy as well, I guess, Matt. And that's why we...
Is it a legacy or a dynasty?
Dynasty? But it goes back, in my memory, we were talking about Ravenswood before. It goes back to Ravenswood. Now, I started going there when I was just 17, and I remember the Chimera.
Yeah.
But tell me if it goes back beyond that, because I don't remember. That's before my
Marino
time.
used to crew with Peter Gregorini, I'm pretty sure, and that's where that all started.
Okay.
And that was the Tirana, yeah?
Nah, what did he have before that? Wasn't a Torrey, it was something before that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a brown, can't even remember what it was now. Before my time.
Before Thunderstruck. Was that Thunderstruck?
Yeah,
That
Thunderstruck
was the
with
Tirana.
Tirana.
Yeah. Okay, so it goes back. The Chimera, I'm right, then is probably the...
Yeah, that's where Marino started. Yeah, that's what got us all into it, the Chimera.
Big block Chev from memory?
Yeah, yep. Super gas he started in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a prominent class. Even Wayne Keys
Yep.
used to run the red Tirana hatchback, I think,
Yeah.
which I think that became the home buyer centre car.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it might have been. I would need to ask Greg Carter that one, actually. I can't remember now.
But there was quite a few. Yossi had
Yep.
and before it was Yossi, it was Novak's
Yep.
little HP Tirana, the big wheel stander.
Yep.
It was a good class.
Talk us through then, while we're here, Super Gas, 990 index. You can't run quicker than 990.
Yeah, it's just a fixed 990 index.
And it's a pro tree.
Yep.
That's the big difference between... so because it's a pro tree, you both leave the same, and if you've got the speed advantage, you've got an advantage at the finish line. So in modern versions of fixed index classes like 890, 990, 1090 and so on that they run in the US, they run a throttle stop. But in those days, those cars were pretty much going flat out, which just it shows you how much the technology's changed when a big block full chassis car and some street cars run a second quicker than that. So
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that.
your car's not far. Your car potentially could run
Potentially.
990.
Yeah, we haven't got there yet.
Yeah, we don't want to get there.
We don't want to go there. But
Do you think that's a bit of a... Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Do you think that that's a bit of a hindrance, that rule that if you run quicker than 10.0... Because I've never felt comfortable with that rule in Super Street.
Oh, I think if that's the rules of the class, then you've got to go with the rules. Because, like you say, once you go quicker than that 10.0, you've got to go to a different class, which brings in the super sedan.
On the night, do you, because someone explained to me that it's like you get disqualified or something if you run...
Yeah, so I think it's anything quicker than a 995. Yeah.
Starts John Zabo.
Yeah,
it was John that told me,
So
that's right.
Yeah.
Two
So
meetings
you've got
in a row.
a little bit of leeway, not a lot.
A 500.
500s.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit similar with the junior dragsters. They would have their time restrictions for the age, and if you went under that, you used to be straight on the trailer and home. But now they've got a little, 10th buffer where they've got up their sleeve. But
It's a bit harsh on the kids.
yeah, it's really a bit. Yes, it sending them home straight away.
I know, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to be in that position, so we're hoping not to be. But yeah, I mean, tough call. Rules are rules as well, I guess, at the end of the day. So
Well, it makes it hard when you're tuning your car, and if you're trying to have that top qualifier advantage, and then if you're getting sent home every time you go under, and how many events is it going to take you to get right at that sweet spot that you feel as if you've got that consistency and reliability,
and
you
that's
do
the
it in
thing, it's the
first
data.
qualifier,
You want the
you're
data.
home, you're back for the next event.
Yeah,
You're
first
qualifying pass again.
qualifier is always a nervous time for me.
Yeah.
Can we just walk backwards a bit here? I wasn't aware of this. So you're telling me John Sabo has licked 990s?
Yeah.
995.
That's
She
a
ran
new
a
combo,
994,
surely.
I think.
Is that
Yes.
a new combo that I'm not aware of?
It's
This year?
No, he's had it for a while. He had some traction issues that he
I
was.
thought that was a 1020 car.
When it hooks up, it's not.
That's right.
Okay, all right. He'll be upset that I'm saying this, probably. He listens every
Probably
week.
will be upset.
Sorry,
he's
John.
running Super Sedan next season.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say.
Sorry,
'cause
Steph.
That's.
No, we are not.
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh my God! You know how many people got excited in the
Yeah,
Super
there was
Street
a-
community?
There was a moment there. It'd be interesting to graph that when we play that right at the 7-minute 48 section. The levels of euphoria of our listeners.
I wasn't sure whether to bring it up, but you guys were sitting behind me at the track championship, at the championship awards, and I heard the conversation and a quick shutdown by Steph. No,
I'm trying.
It's not happening.
He's working hard. I've not given in.
Someone says, "Are we going to go hat trick for a hat trick, Steph?" And
That
and
sounds
it's
like a much better plan.
No, going for Super Sedan. No, shut it down.
We'll talk about some fellow Super Street racers a bit later on. I've got that in my notes. But anyway, we'll talk about them a bit later on. So, look, I mean, just going back to, we were talking about Ravenswood before then, talk us through that. You guys, in my mind, you're probably one of the first generations of the first generation Australian Italians down at the track. I put you in the same sort of category as Zapp, Vince Belladonna, and that group there. You guys come with an ensemble of 30 to 40 people. Vince has a bit of a crew as well there as well. We know Zapp. I've asked Phil Lamartina the same question. I still can't get my head around why this first generation of Italian Australians are so dominant in this sport.
That's a question for Steph, I reckon.
Yeah, but Marino had his day.
Yeah, no, definitely.
He was very competitive, and he's won a championship in comp.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, no,
If you look
no
at
idea.
the sport all the way from the top right down to junior dragster, there's if you look at in all levels of the sport, there's been first generation Italians or the second generation's first generation Italian people that came to Australia, and if you think about where they came from, they didn't even have a car. Like your grandparents,
Yeah.
I suggest wouldn't have had a vehicle. My grandparents certainly didn't have a vehicle, and yet they come here, and all these people suddenly get enthused.Il Lamartina's the same as well. He doesn't know why, but they come to Australia, and suddenly the car is like this thing that we've got to make go faster. And I've always wondered what that is. I guess there's no answer for it really.
There isn't. No, it's a...
Could be running from the Nazis. That just putting it out there, Nick.
I have to get a dad when I.
Just make a time note now for that one, Nick.
So, Steph, I guess the next question's for you. Your foray into the sport was via Matthew. Talk us through those early days down at the track when you met this guy and you're rocking up at the track with this ensemble of all these people.
Wogs is what you.
I didn't say that.
Look, I guess I've always been into cars, so I've got not a lot of car background in terms of the drags, but I guess it helped when I'd met Matt and found out that he did drag racing, and I guess not a lot of girls probably would enjoy going, oh, let's go to the drags for the weekend, but being that I didn't mind cars and that I thought it was a pretty cool new venture. So, headed down to the drags with him and he explained, I guess, the basics of drag racing, being that I had no idea. I guess from there he sort of introduced me into the crew. Started off actually just as Marino's parachute person, doing the parachutes, learning the basics. And then when Matt started driving, I got involved a little bit more on the side of the dial-ins and recording the data and essentially learning how the car worked, how the car reacted, the importance of the data. So just sort of looking from afar and then gradually easing into it. And Matt was very, very good. He was always good at explaining everything and getting me involved. So, yeah, certainly didn't think I'd end up in a car. So that was a little added bonus. But, yeah, I guess there was a bit of background before actually getting into my race car, which was very helpful.
Yeah. Steph, you've just given my wife a lot of ammunition to use against me. I'm pretty devastated now.
Sorry.
Well, she keeps telling me that I'm going to throw her in the deep end. And I said, nah, look, all these other girls have done it. And they go, no, I've been doing this for a while.
Oh, this data and going to review all this data.
Packing shoots. And
I guess that's an important thing to understand as well, because you're not just driving the car. You have to understand what your husband's doing as well. The same, no different to yourself as well, really.
Yeah.
You have to. Your stories are run in parallel in many ways as well.
And I think like the big thing and where I kind of saw my relationship with Trent, and I'm sure you would have been the same, it's that understanding of where the time and dedication is going towards, and, you know, opposed to other things that you could be doing on the weekend or other like date nights that you could be doing and things like that. You know, it becomes that's how you spend your time, and that's where you really make your bond and connection together. But, you know, I'm sure you guys experienced a little bit the same as us when it came time to have a break from racing, and with the kids, it was like suddenly one's doing it without you, and you kind of, you need to form another interest to share. And I know you guys love your AFL and the rivalry between that, so you know, you've got those I'll just sneak it in there. You know, you've got those interests that align, but it's so important to have that in a relationship. So it's just fortunate that then, you know, Matt found a partner that then was interested in cars and
it's true. And I think, and like you say,
involved.
yeah, absolutely, it's because it's that connection, so it's something that we do together. It's time for us as well. As much as we've got the kids now, I always say the kids come and enjoy the drags, but the drags is something that Matt and I do together, and that's what we get to enjoy and connect with. So, and the kids coming down every now and then is always a bonus. Because they get to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, it helps that you're normally taking a trophy home at the end of the night. So I guess that.
Oh, look, I'm not going to lie. It's an added bonus. So I'm happy for that to keep continuing. But you know, we'll see.
There's always silverware for them to play with when they come home. Or a gold Christmas tree, that's right.
I think mine turned into a hot tub for the Barbies at one point.
Well, talk us through those early days then, because I know when you first started, I guess, going out, Matthew had a minor incident at the track that you were actually filming at the time, or you were on the start line perhaps? Or,
no, actually no one knew about me at the time. So I was actually at home sort of just waiting to hear how he'd gone, waiting for a text. You know, after each race he would sort of let me. So I was very new to the scene. Hadn't met parents. I don't think the parents even knew about me back then. So I'd actually been with him on a journey through him sort of looking at the race car and learning about it. But so I was actually at home waiting for the update on how he'd gone on the previous run, and the update never came. So couldn't message anyone because I had no contacts at the drag. So essentially we're sort of just waiting and going, oh, maybe they got caught up. I didn't know. So not a great introduction, but eventually he called me.
I didn't realise. So that's actually probably even harder, more difficult to. So for you, looking from the outside, looking at that, I mean, I know Matthew was fine after that crash, but was that something that when you thought about this, like you thought, I'm not so sure about this. Not going out with him, but I mean in terms of entering the sport.
Oh, look, I think when you're going to look at doing something like drag racing, you've got to go in there knowing there's an element of risk. But I do believe that we're given a path in life, and if opportunities present, as Matthew allowed that opportunity to present, I think you just go with it to a degree. Yeah. You know, and it is like any sport. There's a risk to a lot of sports. You can go horse riding and fall off the horse, or, you know, go karting and flip the cart. So, and, you know, no different to sports activity, you break bones. And, I think you just go with it. And we're very lucky. We've got a lot of safety gear. The track is amazing at ensuring the safety of races. So, I think you always know it's in the back of your mind that something could happen, but and that's often something I asked Matt is rather than learning what to do, I'd often ask him, what are the possible things that can go wrong that you have possibly experienced as a driver? And in those scenarios, what is it that you do? So learning a little bit of background around what to do when things do go wrong or possibly go wrong.
Yeah. And I have to agree, just having that reassurance and trust in your safety equipment, and people ask, and I'm sure you guys do too, are you scared? And it's like, I trust, you trust the safety, your safety equipment, and
absolutely.
And you are also kind of just, you're at peace with knowing that it is a possibility. But I suppose to reiterate on Nick's question, when you had just started dating and that Matt had his crash, I know you said that you were into cars beforehand, but whether you'd been to the drags before, did you kind of know how regular crashes happened? Some people just think that they happen all the time.
Yeah, no, I had no idea because like I said, the drags was not something I had been to. So even when I found out he'd had the accident, I had no idea what that accident could have looked like. He just sort of said, I've hit the wall. And then that's kind of the only explanation I kind of now to do with that information. I'm going, I'm
Typical
not too sure.
communication.
Yes, man of so many words. I didn't really know what to expect, but the fact that he was talking to me on the phone was sort of that reassurance that I'm like, okay, well, he's talking to me, so he must be okay. But I wasn't aware of what the car looked like or what had actually happened, so to speak.
Yeah. On episode 193, we caught up with Andrew's Murray O'Connor and Nick Gardiner and had a long chat with those guys.
But our core business and our core interest, I guess, is in drag racing. I've been at it since 1987 myself, so I've been doing it for a little while, and I've picked up a few clues along the way as to what goes on with it all.
Just briefly talk us through your background. I remember you in a series of XM Falcons. Some people think they're all the same car, but we know that they are dramatically different over the years.
Particularly the last one.
the black one, the door slammer, was quite unique. But talk us through this, because my memory goes back to the XMs. But I'm sure there's cars prior to that as well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I bought an XY GT when I was in my early 20s and made the fatal mistake of saying I might just go down to the drags and see what it runs. And that was the end of that. That worked well until I hurt the diff and the gearbox in the car, and I thought, well, maybe a genuine GT is too good to be doing this stuff with. And so I chose to build a purpose-built drag car. And I'm a very big fan of XM coupes and stumbled across a wreck of a shell and built my first car with that. It came out originally with a naturally aspirated Cleveland in it. I think I ran that for about 3 meetings and decided that wasn't enough. I needed a supercharger. So that car was rebuilt over a couple of years, I guess, and developed into a car that I ran in double B gas, double B ultra production at the time, and eventually I ran it in double C gas before I retired that car. When I retired that car, I moved on to the second generation XM. That car was running double A gas and double A ultra production, and then I moved on to my current door slammer. All my race vehicles have been home built by myself and good friends of mine. I have some very good and very talented friends that help me with fabrication and stuff like that. But basically all my cars have been home built, home tuned. And, apart from top door slammer, I've managed to run national records in every class I've ever run. So I'm quite satisfied with my career. I've still got the car, it's just been having a rest for a few years.
Yep.
But I'm getting pretty itchy to go into a skid, got to tell you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, if my memory's incorrect here, but you held the record for the quickest Cleveland, fastest Cleveland at one stage, or was it? I know that's not an official record, but given the LS records we hear every day.
No, I reckon the fastest Cleveland in the world was Ken Veeney in a dragster in the US, and I reckon the next quickest one after that was probably the McSweeney brothers, to be honest with you.
Okay. So those heads were Venny heads?
No. Ken Veeney ran his dragster with Iron Cleveland heads.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's the same Venny?
Yeah, absolutely, the same.
Wow.
Veeney. Yeah.
That explains why his ports are so big.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's on the money. He learned how to build Hemi heads, working on Clevelands.
Yep. There you go.
That's where his origins were in racing.
That's incredible. I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
So the original billet heads.
Yeah.
Who made?
Okay. The original billet heads that I ran on the Cleveland back in the 90s were built by John Mitchell, who ran the Montana Express in the US in top alcohol trim. So that was a small block Ford-based top alcohol dragster. And he was running A3 heads at the time and kept punching combustion chambers out of them.
Yep.
So they did a CNC program back in the very early CNC days and built the Cleveland heads.
That's incredible.
So, I ended up with most of their inventory. I, rang up based on an ad that they had in National Dragster back in the time and committed to buying a set of heads and ended up flying to the US and emptying 3/4 of his shed out. And that was my start with the Cleveland stuff as far as the blowing stuff, I guess.
It's really interesting because I always thought that maybe I'm getting confused with Brendan McSweeney. I can't remember. In my memory, I don't remember. But I thought it was you. But I know that's what your catch cry was, the Cleveland, and Brendan's as well. Obviously, at the time we had these two West Australians battling in really tough Fords and in Clevos back in the day. Double B. You were racing against Zapp at the time as well?
Yeah, raced against Zapp and all the big names back in the time. So.
Yeah. If you look at drag racing Australia-wide and then look at the impact that West Australians have had in terms of national records and championship wins, we kind of, for a small bunch of guys that kind of all know each other, we've had a huge impact. I mean, even right up to the winters.
Yeah.
You look at who won the championship in Door Slammer, who was second in Door Slammer. You know what I mean? It's still to this day the West Australian contingent still has a big card to play, I guess.
Well, I've got to tell you, I think our isolation in WA is a big player in that scenario. I guess because we do all know each other, there's a fierce rivalry amongst us all, and we all strive to do better than the next guy, and that naturally produces better performances and better races on the way through. So I think that's probably the catalyst.
I remember when you towed across with an open trailer, and those guys over there couldn't believe it.
Yeah. I guess when we rocked up at Calder Raceway in '96, we were ridiculed for towing across the Nullarbor with an open trailer. We did have some race tape on the injector hat, and most of a dead emu on the underside of the car trailer. And there was, Peter Capiris in the day rocked up with his great big fancy, triaxle rig and his John Taverna built car, and I came out in the home built Falcon with the self-made tune-up and that sort of stuff, and, basically embarrassed a lot of guys for the day, I suppose. So.
And there was a bunch of us around that Pura milk carton cheering on.
That was you guys, was it? So, they were fond memories, good racing back in the day. I guess probably one of the fondest memories of that era was backwards and forwards on an almost weekly basis between Theo Pavlomanolakis and myself for the Double B gas mark.
Yep.
He'd knock it down one week and I'd knock it down the next, and it went backwards and forwards for months. Yeah. And, back in the day, you had to wait for National Dragster to come out.
Correct.
And you had to read National Dragster and, or Australian Dragster and, see if your mark had been bettered or not. And it was really quite pleasing to be knocking it backwards and forwards between the two of us at the time, I guess.
It was a different time because I used to wait for that just to see if I had like a mention. You know what I mean? I might have gone out in the third round and say, "Oh, I've got a mention," you know.
If you think about that, Jeff Crisp,
top bloke, Crispy, yep.
Like, he was probably ahead of his time, really, when you think about it. I know the internet has probably taken some of his some of his news or content away, but I feel like he was, for his time, way ahead of his time to be producing that magazine on a fortnightly or monthly.
Yeah,
Fortnightly, yeah.
It's fortnightly.
Yeah.
I used to
And
subscribe
really
to
good
it.
content.
Yeah,
really good
excellent.
content.
Yeah. I mean, in the day, that was our Bible.
Yeah.
We lived by that magazine. So,
yeah,
you know, kudos to him. He did a great job. It was something that you couldn't wait for it to arrive in the mail, and you couldn't wait to read it through, like say, read through it and see if you got a mention or a photo or something like that.
Yeah.
Even when I was in high school, I knew which news agencies had it, and I would, you know, ride my bike or catch a train or whatever to go and get it.
Yeah.
It was the who's who of drag racing in Australia.
Yeah. Nick, talk us through yourself as well. I remember you in an altered, but I don't.
What about the Tirana?
And the Tirana, of course, yeah, as well. But yeah, just talk us through how you kicked off in the sport as well.
Probably a bit like Murray with a street car, but then realised keep breaking it, and you got a trailer at home all the way from Ravenswood. Then I had a bit of a holiday while I went off and looked at other things in life, and I came back and brought what a lot of people would say was a bunky old Tirana.
Come on, take it easy.
Pretty famous car, I guess, in the day now. Regret selling it, got to be honest. I would have liked to have stuck it in the corner and maybe restored it like all these nostalgic people do.
Yeah.
And we had some success for the type of car it was. It was antiquated, it was prehistoric, didn't have nothing late model, nothing fancy.
Is it still around, Nick?
It's actually in Cairns at the moment, still racing. It's actually been fully rebuilt, back to bare metal, new roll cage. The owner up there's put a 700 horsepower thing in it.
Did they weld the top of the roll cage this time?
No, I actually had to repair that myself, much to my disappointment, but that's okay. It was
Murray's here.
It was. Oh look, I drove that car for 6 years, and then I went to get a tech inspection, and I obviously had a different tech inspector. And stuck his hand up there and went, "This isn't going to work, mate." And with the roof about an inch away from the roll cage, it was a little bit hard to fix.
You got to bend the stick.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. I'll get the elastic up there. We all do things, but yeah, I drove that to some relatively good success, I guess, and we had a lot of fun, and that was all we were there for. Then I went on to buying Steve McGrath's Topolino, his Outlaws car.
I remember that.
We had the Tirana, and I swore I wouldn't bring the Topolino out till I sold the Tirana. I couldn't help myself, I had to bring it out, as you do. It's a bit hard walking past one car all the time that you really want to have a drive. We ran for quite a few years with that car. Then my wife got sick and life again changed. We had to park it up, look after her, look after the kids. And we got her all clear 7 years later, and we brought it out for the Western Nationals. I got runner-up at that event. We kind of found out, we actually took it down to a private test day 4 weeks earlier, and it was really crazy. I brought a trailer in Christmas, had one built, and then went, do I actually want to do this anymore? And we went to a test day. I did 4 passes and went, yep, I'm still hooked. Beauty. Saved having to sell a trailer and everything else. And we did the Westerns, which was good. We thought we were probably going to have a fairly good time of this again, and I decided to have a look at the car upside down. And after that, I'm still rebuilding.
Yeah, okay.
We're not far off. We've got everything pretty much. It's now just time, put it together, finish off what we need to finish off. Tin work's done. I waited a while for that, but I wanted somebody good to do the tin work, and I had to be patient. We've got an engine. We've got pretty much a full car right about now. Need some paint. That's about it.
Yep.
You know a good painter, don't you?
I've got to find that time again. That's the hard thing is, you go, oh, we can paint that, that's easy, but it takes time. Things get in the way. And we're not going to rush anymore. We kind of understand the track's still there. I guess we've matured a little bit and haven't gone, no, we've got to be up all night and stay in the shed till 4 o'clock in the morning, and we'll get there. That's
fair enough. I thought that's par for the course, isn't it?
Yeah. Other things get in the way now. That's the problem.
Yeah, fair enough.
Episode 195 was so big we had to do it over 2 parts. That was with Mike Ward and Kevin Boulton. Let's have a listen to that episode here.
Yeah, so basically when you hand your time slip in at the end of the day, they'll then take the time slip, record that, and then give you basically a roadmap or a list of instructions, what roads to take, how long to travel down that road, and checkpoints along the way. So the way they verify that you do the route is give you certain checkpoints, you take a photo of your car at that checkpoint, and then when you hand your time slip in the next day, you then have to prove you show your photos, prove that you're at that checkpoint. The other thing is a lot of the drag and drive stuff is sort of self-policed by the participants. So I remember the first one I did, one of the rules is everything you have has to be in the car. So we were at the last hotel on the Friday going the track, and basically a guy leading a class put his luggage in his dad's car and didn't put it in the trailer of his race car.
Oh, God.
Someone took a photo of it and he was disqualified.
Wow.
So he was in first position. So you then apply that to the drive. So if you're off route and someone takes a photo or can prove that you took a shortcut, so there's a lot of self-policing there. And then, obviously if one of the officials see you, same deal. If you miss a checkpoint, same thing. So yeah, there's a bit of self-policing, and you can leave the route. So like for whatever reason, some of the guys live around, whether it's Florida, Orlando, whatever, they'll go home one of the nights, but they just have to drive back to where they left the route and continue on from that point. So
is it true that some of the route on certain events can be a little bit cryptic?
Yeah, it's not so much now because Google Maps basically. They'll actually give you a link to a Google map, and but the problem with that is it's live. So if there's a traffic issue, it'll go, oh no, don't follow that map, go around. And same thing, people do that and get caught out because they've gone off the route. Sometimes we'll be going down a highway and we'll see a guy go across the bridge. We're just going, where's he going? Because he, you know what I mean? It's just like, and if we wanted, we could take a photo and go, hey, this guy, you know what I mean? But to me, I'm not a massive stickler for the rules. Like, at the end of the day, if you can race 5 times, it doesn't worry me if you're 5 kilometres off. You go a little bit of a different route, but it's when people will go around traffic. So you can imagine you've got a car that's fairly highly strung. The bit sitting in traffic is the hard bit. So
and that's what I've heard. I heard a story about a massive traffic jam, and this guy with his Corvette, he had the bonnet open and was driving through the traffic to try and get some heat out of the engine bay, like with the bonnet open.
Yeah, there's people get to all sorts. So before I put a new radiator in the car, we had basically a spray bottle, a weed spray bottle, and if we got stuck in traffic, we'd just have it in the footwell and just basically spray water on the radiator.
Nick, you guys sell those.
We do. There's a market emerging. But same, when there's a problem, you come up with the drag and drive solution, we call it. And I wasn't the first guy to do that. Like, there's plenty of guys who've done it before, but you learn from the other guys. So I mean, the first time I did a drag and drive was 2018. I went in someone else's car as a co-driver, and I met him in the staging lanes at the check-in day. Like, basically Kev arranged it. He arranged to go with one guy, and then through Facebook and that, Kev arranged for me to go in a guy's car. And man, I'm still friends with him today, still talk to him. It's one of the experiences of my life that was a turning point because it made me do all this. But just from that experience, it's,
Mike, I couldn't think of a better co-driver, to be honest.
It's funny, like, Kev's so into it, like it, I don't really get on social media, that sort of thing. I'm on there, but I don't post a lot. But Kev is all about it, and like I'd heard a drag and drive, and I'd heard a drag week, But Kev in 2016, he goes, "Hey, I'm going to Drag Week." I was like, "Oh, that sounds cool." And then, Kev gets back, sends me videos, photos. I'm like, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go again in 2018." I'm like, "Well, I'll come with you." And then Kev's like, "Well, I've managed to get myself a drive in this car." And then he goes, "I might be able to get you one." I'm like, "Sign me up," like it's just, yeah. And that was the beginning of the end.
So he's got more drag and drive frequent flyer points than you do.
He's done one in his own car that I wasn't there with.
Yeah, so be about even, but
same.
That's worth 1.5 points, isn't it?
No, that's really. I mean, so talk us through There's two variations of what we call drag and drive. There's the well-known ones. There's the drag week and sick week.
I think there's a lot more.
There probably is, but they're the
because there's the Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, Rocky Mountain. You got Midwest Drags.
Yeah, Midwest.
You've got Miles of Mayhem in Canada. Yeah. They got one in Alaska. You got Street Week in Sweden.
Yeah.
I'm going to do another one in November called Street and Yeet, which is 8th Mile radial based.
Yep.
That's all in the Carolinas. All the little outlaw tracks in Carolina. So I'm not actually going to do Drag Week this year. I've decided to do World Cup finals, No Mercy, FL2K, go to the Orlando Sport Compact Challenge, won't race at that, and then do the Street and Yeet. So I've sort of changed it up a little bit. Because, once you get there, it's just like a kid in a candy store.
So because you're going to Carolina, you're going to learn to play banjo?
Yeah, we've actually... Carolina Drag Week last year was in Carolinas as well, and we actually got an Airbnb, and it was an 1840s house in a little town with 500 people called Society Hill, and there's actually a photo of me sitting on the rocking chair out the front, and I was just missing the banjo, so you're not far off. So,
they let you leave.
Yeah. Well, again, it's one of those American things where we just pulled the car out of the trailer on the front lawn in the middle of a little 500-person town, and we got people coming up asking us, and then next thing you know, we were on basically the main street of the town across from the only servo in the town, and people started bringing deck chairs and sitting there and watching us, but then at one point they turned the chairs around, they were facing the road, and we're going, this is a Saturday morning, what's going on today? Oh, we've got our annual parade called the Catfish Day Parade, and next thing you know, there's fire engines, police, marching bands, like Mickey Mouse, coming down the street. And we're just like, only in America. And we're literally in the middle of nowhere in South Carolina. And you're just like, man, this place has just got everything, Like you can race 6 days a week there. So people always ask me like, okay, so why did you try go to America instead of racing locally? I'm like, so the way I sort of thought of it, I've been lucky enough to go to basically every track in Australia. So there's no, I really want to race here. Like I've sort of done it, you know what I mean? Without, again, sounding like one of those guys. But for me, as a kid, I went to America, and America just was always the place. And, I've been on teams here where we will tow to Sydney for a week, and it rains out, and we drive back. So you spend 2 weeks, the same amount of money, the same infrastructure. So I thought, you know what, I want to do this America thing. So same. It's the similar infrastructure, rather than, buying a car here, obviously buy a car over there. But the problem for me is I don't have time. I'm busy working on everyone else's stuff. So I've got 10 projects that I haven't looked at for 15 years. So I'm like, okay, I'm turning 40. I want to do something myself. I've helped everyone go racing for 20 years. And then the other good thing about that is I can pull the roller door down and just go to America and concentrate on my own car for a month. And, Carolina, 27 racetracks within 3 hours. So if it rains here, you drive down here. You know what I mean? Like there's just, if you're going to commit to going away for those 2 weeks, like the flights and that sort of thing, it's sort of similar. You obviously save on fuel costs. But, you can go on a Wednesday test and tune at Bradenton at the Disneyland of racetracks, and it's $30.
Oh.
There's VP race fuel on the pump there. Like it's...
Stop, Mike. Stop. We're going to get complaints.
But then Thursday's Orlando, and then Friday's back at Bradenton.
My phone's starting to ring already.
And then Saturday, South Georgia, all within 3 hours. Like it's just it's the more you go, the more you want to go back. Unfortunately, but.
Talking of Carolina, talk us through the B&Bs of Carolina. I heard a story about the B&Bs of Carolina.
Yep. So, we were lucky with the Society Hill one because that was a nice 1840s house. Like, it sort of got you in that Carolina sort of mood.
Moonshine?
Yep. There's, that small country town vibe. We definitely experienced that. But yeah, on the Wednesday of, that drag week, we were coming from Thunder Valley, so Bristol, Thunder Valley, coming back down to Carolina Dragway, so Aiken, South Carolina. And for that week, I was just Airbnb-ing, so every night different Airbnb. So on the Wednesday night, we come down the Appalachian Mountains, really nice drive. I had not a bad day at the track. Cruising along, it's probably 6 o'clock, just starting to go dark. And pull up a set of lights, just heard a bit of a noise. So I pull over straight away, we end up breaking a rocker. So probably sort of 2.5 hours on the side of the road, get it back, pull everything apart, get it back together. Had a spare rocker, luckily. The lash cap actually came off, so we had to fish that out. Just normal things you do on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. So we're a bit sort of flustered anyway. Anyway, so got this Airbnb, found the address, and pulling up, we sort of pull into like a bit of like a golf course estate, and I was like, and I'm in, this car with basically 2 exhaust pipes straight out the side, which is, as weird as it sounds, it's not that abnormal in America, but, so I found the house, and it was sort of up a big long driveway. So, loaded up in first gear, big, make a bit of noise going up the driveway, pulling in the backyard, turn the car off, like, all right, here. You get that relief if you've just finished your 300-mile drive from Tennessee to South Carolina, and all right, let's get some sleep, bit of rest. But no, so a woman leans in the window. Oh, hello, can I help you? I'm like, oh yeah, how you going? I'm just here for the Airbnb. I thought maybe she's renting a room out the back or the back of the house. She's like, no, there's no Airbnb here. I'm like, oh, what do you mean? Here's the booking. And I just use like booking.com or whatever. And she's like, no, this is not Airbnb. This is my house. I live here. I was like, okay, so you don't rent a room? No. She's like, what are you doing here? So lucky she didn't have a gun. So that was the other thing you got to worry about there.
Especially there.
Yeah, South Carolina. The funny thing is, we went Carolina Dragway testing the week before. So we pulled up early. We were the first guys at the gates, and just waiting for the the gate guy to come and unlock the gate. Anyway, he rolls up. He's got like a 6-shooter on his hip on the outside. You know what I mean? Because it's open carry there. So we're like, okay, so imagine going down the motorplex and
I think we should get one for Steve. Definitely.
Yeah. Or the chicks at the booth, just carrying an AK-47 or something. So this chick's like, no Airbnb here. But yeah, it turns out her house was for sale, and they'd used the for sale photos as the Airbnb advertisement, and what I mean. So again, we pull into town at 10 o'clock, and then with the small towns, because the drag and drop, people sort of like book ahead. There's hardly any hotels around, so we end up, I think it was like a Howard Johnson, and it was pretty shady, and I think Kev spent most of the night.
That's really bad smelling.
Most of the night, just making them, because obviously there's been a few people where their cars have been stolen, vandalised, whatever. So you sort of, when you don't have a lot of sleep anyway, it's almost the last thing you want to worry about. But that's part of it. As I say, the drag racing bit's easy. Yeah. But booking a hotel, it can be hard.
Talk us through, because you mentioned before you're going to No Mercy, but you've done Lights Out, is that right?
Yeah, so that's like they basically do an event every 6 months. Yeah. So, after Sick Week 23, they had it the next weekend, so it's like, I may as well stay there and do that. And, the car I have is not particular, so we end up having to enter in limited drag radial. So we're talking like 3-second cars. At that time, the fastest I'd been was just into the 4s. But you're there for the experience. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just to be around, just to see it. We're talking like 4-day meetings. Like, just that next level,
Episode 197 was also a huge episode. We had the winners from the Beers 24-hour race at Carco Raceway on the podcast. Lochie Beresford and Denver Parker both coming on, explaining this true grassroots motorsport known as budget endurance extreme racing. Or it could be budget extreme endurance racing. Either way, they explained it to us, the 24-hour race that those guys actually won. So, guys, tell us this year it's the first time it's been a legit 24 hours. Is that correct? Am I
No,
right?
incorrect. So the two collie events have been 24. So last year and the year before that were genuine 24-hour events.
Oh, it didn't. Okay. Oh,
Yeah, but this is the first ever 24-hour event held at Wanneroo ever history.
Wow.
Since the track was opened in the 60s, was it?
Yeah, late 60s, I think.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I didn't know. I thought it was the first 24. I know you done. I went there for the 2 12-hour.
Yeah.
When they held them over 2 days, but I didn't realise this was the third time now. So they've done this.
So they put lights up for that?
Yeah.
Is there lights up for the night?
Yeah, well, the track itself has lighting already, which they use for the night master rounds and the time attack events and night events that run up there anyway. But yeah, the track it's not well lit, but it's lit enough to get away with it. So yeah, the super sprint event, they put up a few extra lighting towers and stuff like that to help them see what's going on.
Yep. So talk us through it. Look, for those that haven't listened to a previous episode, talk us through BEERS, what that stands for, where the acronym comes from.
So BEERS is Budget Endurance, Extreme Endurance Racing.
It's on the notes.
It was always going to be. It's BEERS. Get out and have some fun with a group of mates. Like Gemma said, it's not to be super competitive and get the most number of laps in. It's getting out there and having fun.
Is it like what we're kind of missing in motorsport today? Do you think?
It definitely gets something there because it's the budget and make sure there's more people actually out there competing than just sitting at home watching the event.
There's a pathway. As a grassroots motorsport, it is definitely accessible. It is fairly cheap on the scale of things, and the spirit of it and the nature of it, the vibe at Wanneroo is obviously a different category, to what Collie is. Collie, everyone goes down camps. At the end of the event, everyone gets on the beers and hangs around and has a big party afterwards, whereas Wanneroo, there was no alcohol whatsoever. So, at the end of the race, as you're pulling into the pits, there's a beer in your hand. And that's, you're already down 2 in the first 15, 20 minutes, because that's just, it keeps you going. Whereas, Wanneroo, they finished, we did, the event finished at 3:30. We had to be out of the track by 5.
Oh, really?
That was the agreement they had. So it was a case, everyone got out, they did the presentations, and it was a mad rush to pack up and get out of there. They did after party afterwards, but...
It would be a quick presentation, we had the trophies.
It was about 15, 20 minutes, but it was just a different... The vibe was still good, it was just different, end of it, because you had that whole party aspect at Collie, whereas everyone sort of, camped, and there was a big sort of... not a festival, but definitely, you cruise around different camps after the event and have a beer with everyone and talk it out.
The zoo.
Yeah. Have a laugh about what happened, what didn't happen. So,
okay. All right, that's interesting. I didn't realise you had to be out, so that's part of obviously the hire agreement.
I'd say so,
Yeah, okay. Yep.
What it was. The event was meant to kick off at 3, and just there was a couple of delays to get going, and by the time they did the shoot on the main grid of all the cars lined up and then got going, it was about 3:30 on the Friday. So
okay, all right, no, that's interesting.
And then did they have racing and events on the Saturday? Is that the reason why there was such a quick move to get you out, or?
I don't think so. It was just that was the agreement.
Yeah.
I'd guess.
Yeah, for such a for the racing to be built on kind of the fun and the enjoyment and almost the novelty of it, it's a really such a shame that they cut short that after party of celebration for the teams.
They did have one of the organisers owns Sir Henry's in Northbridge, so a bunch of people went down to that afterwards. I was going to go, but by the time I got home, unloaded the car, hopped in the shower.
It's almost like you're too close to home, too close to bed.
Yeah, that's where that two beer buzz thing comes in. You keep the buzz going from after the event. The adrenaline keeps going, whereas by the time I got out of the shower, it was gone.
Yeah.
I think I was asleep.
Fair enough. No, that's fair enough. Fair enough. Talk us through then, like if you will, like some of the entry requirements for not just the car, but for yourself. Like what? Let's just say next year, Todd, myself, Johnny, and Michelle, we want to do BEERS, and we put together what credentials would the 4 of us require?
So it's done on a AASA general speed license. So nothing crazy there in terms of how wild some circuit racing license can get. It's still full Hans, full race suit. The works in that regards. The cars, the the original budget was $2,000. Of course, COVID's increased that $2,000 car to a $5,000 or $8,000 car now. So there's allowances for that. But yeah, definitely that cheap car that you would have had when you were 18, and put a cage in it, put a race seat in it, fire extinguisher, and she's pretty well good to go. We're running on road tyres. We're not running on semis.
Okay.
That's where we ran on 6 already pretty well used tyres for the 24 hours and made it through. There was some tyre juggling at the end to make sure we made it to the end without too many delaminations.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very, very much trying to keep it down to that entry level.
To finish the year off, we caught up with Brodie Zappia for our live Christmas podcast, which was also episode 200 or 204, whatever way you want to look at it. But we caught up with Brodie Zappia at the Odin Tavern. That was a great night. So let's tune into that one right here.
Yeah, just the way that everything kind of unfolded, it was just there was a new chapter every page that we turned. Like we were planning on running juniors for a bit longer because we went to Alice Springs so I could keep my license after I turned 17. Then that all went out the window when we found the Camaro, which I run in Super Sedan. So then we rushed into, I started in Uncle John's Ute to get my license there while we were still waiting for the Camaro to get finished off. Then once that got finished, came out and I was running pretty well top of the pack, running 850s. Won 2 meetings that season in Super Sedan and finished second by 15 points, arguably due to a rain out, but unfortunately that's how it is sometimes.
And so in 2022, when you made that comment, what was your definition of a little bit back then? Is this, it's happening sooner than expected, like you've said, but at that time, when did you think that it would be, that the opportunity would arise?
Well, I couldn't really put a number on when or if the opportunity would arise. There was plans for that car to come out with Craig Pedley from Striker to drive it in a couple of years. But again, we didn't know when that was going to happen, if that was going to happen. That's just what was spoken about at the time. I'd kind of just planned to build the Camaro up, and we were just going to go into top sportsman after Super Sedan, just run high 7s and keep that naturally aspirated. But that went out the window when I had a sponsor approach me and we decided to put a Pro Charger on it. And then just from there, it just spiraled. Once I was running 6s, I've already run over 200 mile an hour. I was already doing 1.0s to the 60 foot. So at that point, when we found out that Craig wasn't really interested in driving and he wanted me to jump in the door slammer, I'd already had the experience and the build-up coming up to it, so it wasn't such a big jump to go into the door slammer. So I guess we never really planned for it to happen all this quickly. It just all happened so fast, and it just worked out to be at the right time.
Happening now. So I suppose we better start from the beginning. Now, you've said before that you had the opportunity to go-karting when you were younger. What was the big decider to then really make your ground with drag racing and the junior dragster?
Well, when we went go-karting, it was just like with a few friends and with my parents, and I used to go when I was still 7, and my parents would just say that I was 8, and I would pass as an 8-year-old, and it worked for quite a while. But when the opportunity arose to run juniors, it was, well, you got to make your mind up. Do you want to go down this path of racing go-karts? Do you want to do something else, or would you like to race juniors? And my answer was, I want to be like Uncle John.
Yeah.
Nick was telling me that you got a bit of a passion for gaming, and you used to race the McClure's and Versmas in Forza.
Yeah.
So, yeah?
Yeah, I used to do a bit of 8th mile drag racing on the airstrip in Forza Horizon 2 and 3 with those guys.
Did Casey kick your butt in that as well?
Casey wasn't racing, but no, she probably would have if she was. Did a bit of drifting with Luke Wiesmer as well. Now he's gone on to be an Australian champion and state champion in drifting as well. The likes of Cade Brennan as well, who's now tuning his dad's car. Lots of the junior races at the time. We all just used to catch up and play on weeknights, and it was just the way that we got on. It was good fun.
That's it. Is it a game, like a console?
Forza.
Is it like
Xbox? It's in the
Yeah, on your
Xbox.
Xbox.
I don't know what it is either.
I used to have a little racing sim set up in the front room, and I'd just sit there with my headphones on, and you got a full steering wheel
Yeah.
and pedals and shifter and everything. So that's where I learnt to drive manual before I'd even got a license. So it was good fun.
maybe that's where like you then start to practice with your reaction times and everything if you're doing that. Darren Griffin that races a race against in modified, he said that he was cutting terrible lights and then he started playing the NHRA drag racing PlayStation game and now he's like killer. Like he's so good. And I'm like, I gotta buy myself a PlayStation.
I was going to say, don't tell everyone that.
Yeah, but like,
Give everyone the upper
if
hand
people
now.
were then spending thousands on Pro Trees, maybe just a PlayStation game.
No, the only way to
don't
get
listen
better.
to this, Paul. No.
The only way to get better is just keep on practicing, keep doing laps, keep going out there, and keep trying.
Yeah, 100%. And but if you don't have the opportunity to get behind a car, and if it's in the off season, it sounded like you had a pretty good setup with your.
Or at the traffic lights.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do not endorse that. Just
Only up to the speed limit.
Rita, we don't endorse.
No, Rita. Rita will be listening. Brodie, talk us through then. Let's go back to, so you said you were 8 years old, or 7, 8, whatever. 2013, your debut in the junior dragster. Talk us through that scenario, how you came to get that junior dragster as well, and how that all came to be.
So we first started looking at, well, whether we were going to buy or whether my parents were going to buy or lease or what we were going to do to get into the sport because they weren't sure whether I was going to like it, whether I was going to hate it. So we were very fortunate that we were able to lease a car off a good friend of ours at the time, Pete Matulovic. His son had just stepped out and he had another car that he was leasing to Georgia McSweeney at the time. So I was able to jump in there, did a few meetings before my parents decided that we were ready to buy the car and I was enjoying myself. It took me a long time to get my licence though, purely because I was going way too fast for the class. I was at least, I think I was 10.93 and the index was 11.90 to get your licence, so way too fast for an 8-year-old. But it was definitely a good learning experience for me at least. Like I started to get the hang of cutting lights pretty well straight away. I actually came runner-up at the Fast Series only a month after gaining my licence, and then went on to win a meeting 2 months after that. So it was quite good to get some early success and some early wins, and it really boosted my confidence right at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So your formative years of junior dragster are huge. From 2018 to 2022, you're travelling, preparing, crewing for Uncle John, and on top of all that, you're winning. I want to know how you managed being a young teenager amongst all of that.
Well, it was definitely hard work to keep up with the maintenance on the car and everything, because people just look at them like, oh, they're just junior dragsters, but unless you put the time and effort in the shed and at home and doing like any car, doing your maintenance, they get overlooked quite a lot because of how simple they are. But if you really do put the time and effort into keeping them up to scratch, then they pay you back in how they perform. Travelling around the country was great fun. My teachers at school absolutely hated it because I was never there, but I still somehow managed to get good grades at school, and that was one of the things my parents told me is if your grades drop off, you're not racing. So that was kind of my, their leverage on me was I had to stay good at school to be able to do what I was doing. I wasn't really too heavily involved with Uncle John's car at the time. He's always had his guys and his crew on the car. I was more so focused on my racing and getting myself up to scratch and learning what to do. But in the latter part of my junior racing days, I pretty well took over in doing all of the maintenance and all the work from my parents. There was pretty much the only thing they were doing at that point was starting me and doing my idle RPM as I came into stage. I wanted to do the rest of it, and it took a lot of pressure off them because I had no one to blame if I messed up my dialing, but it paid off in the end. It was a really good last few years, going back to back in the WA Championship for the last 3 years and winning the Australian Championship on my last one. So I was very fortunate, and I'm very grateful to my parents for taking me around the country and for the amount of time that they've taken to travel around and time off work and everything in between.
Well, thanks for joining us on this best of episode, best of 2024. We sincerely enjoyed the year and we're looking forward to a really big 2025. If you're listening to us as a podcast, please like, subscribe to us. Also, if you're listening to us on 88.5 FM, please tune in every Sunday morning from 7:30 a.m. It's great to have you aboard. Thanks, everyone. We hope you enjoy